All right, good afternoon and thank you to another Musicians at Google performance. Damon is, for me, the person who defined the renaissance of the alternative singer-songwriter and is the single reason why I actually watched the film About a Boy, in spite of Hugh leading the role. I'm really pleased to have him here at Google today. I'm really excited about the new album, which is one in a trilogy that he's planning on releasing, called It's What I'm Thinking. And without further ado, let me bring on Badly Drawn Boy. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for the introduction. I just swallowed this tea the wrong way then. At the end of a US tour now, so I'm a bit dishevelled. It's been non-stop. We play San Francisco tonight, and then 2 LA shows, and then I'm back home for Christmas. So I'm going to start with a cover version of so Richie Havens played at Woodstock, which was the year of my birth, 1969. He wasn't aware of that, of course. It was just a coincidence. So I think it's one of the best songs written about a relationship ending. So it's quite sad, but. I get too low with no reason. You say it's the moon, or maybe the season, but something is not the same, and I won't let my mind believe that baby something's wrong. I don't feel the same. I can't make it anymore. Ooh, anymore. Don't know the reasons why, but I just can't lie. When I feel this way, there are things I must say. I can't make it anymore. I can't make it anymore. Ooh, anymore. Don't know it's the wrong words. Where did we go wrong? And where do I belong? Help me find out when. Did it all begin? Why I'm losing you? Why our love is through? I can't make it anymore. I can't make it anymore. Ooh, ooh. Thank you. Yeah, you mentioned a soundtrack, the About a Boy soundtrack. I did one last year as well. Oh God, I'm in a wreck. On the shows I've been doing on this tour, I've been starting off and apologising because the first 20 minutes, they're all pretty sad songs. I promise that it does pick up. I'm not sure this set today I'll have a chance to pick up. I'll have to play a bit longer, but I'll see what I can fit in. This is from the soundtrack I did last year to The Fattest Man in Britain. It was a TV film made in England, and it was just on television this time last year, at Christmas time. And there's a part of the story that a young girl, she has a baby, and it doesn't survive about an hour of its life. So she names it George in that time, and George is the fat guy, and it kind of changes his life. This moment, the sentiment that the girl named the baby after him. So it was obviously an opportunity to write a song about. Again, it's quite sad. It's called "I'll Carry On." I tried so hard, but in the end I let you down. You always will be with me, I will wear your crown. A time so brief from cradle to the grave. I feel like giving in, but for you I know I must be brave. And carry on, just for you I'll carry on. They said that I could hold you for a little while, just time to kiss those lips that one day would make us smile. I don't know what was going through my mind to find the kind of strength that you should never have to find. To let you go, let you go, let him go, I let him go. And in the time we had, I blessed him with your name. And now that he's gone, this life won't be the same. I ask of you to help me carry on. If you ever need a reason, let this reason be the one. To carry on, just for you I'll carry on, just for you I'll carry on. Thank you. Do you all work in the Google environment? Yeah. Seems like a nice place. Big. We just on the way in to try and find it, we had to Google. Looked over and one of us had reduced to just a pair of smouldering shoes on the tour bus floor. That's what happens when you Google. Somebody combusts. Thankfully it wasn't me, and I could turn up, and it was just one of the band. We don't really need him anyway. Can do most of it myself. This song was a B-side a few years ago because it's rubbish. So it was a B-side. That's why B-sides become B-sides, because they're usually not that good. It's a nonsense song, really. It's called "Don't Ask Me, I'm Only the President." There was a movie, normally I'd call that a film, but it moved me, and that didn't rhyme with film. You see, this film, it only had one scene. If my recollection fades, it may just have been a dream. There was a dragon teaching women to breathe fire. Long line of men being made to walk across this high wire. If they fell off to their death, they'd be martyred on the spot. If they made it to the other side, someone shook their hand and they were shot. Well, isn't that just the way it's always been? I say all men are equal and no man should be king or play God or define sin or watch Hollyoaks. And Big Brother needs to end. Let's hope this one's the last. Thank you. That was like 7 or 8 years ago I wrote that song, and in England at least anyway, Big Brother has ended. I don't take the credit for that, but I'm actually missing it now as well, so don't be careful you get what you wished for. There's certain songs I just can't play, it's not working for me today. This is off my first album, came out in 2000. It's called Once Around the Block. It's quite typical of me to call a song something that isn't ever in the song. People can never remember my titles or my words or anything. They shout out for different, like, play the song On Fire, and I'm like, what song is that? I didn't write a song called that. And then the girl asking for it, she sings the line, no, you say quiver like a candle on fire. I say, yeah, that's called Once Around the Block. So it's a bit weird, it's my own fault. I think at the beginning of my career, I kind of willfully refused to do gratuitous songs with choruses that people could easily sing along to. Now I'm trying my best to do the opposite, so because I need to make some money. The kids are getting older, and so am I. You quiver like a candle on fire. I'm putting you out. Maybe tonight we could be the last shout, but I'm fascinated by your style. Your beauty will last for a while. You feeling instead of being. The more that I live on the inside, there's nothing to give. I'm infatuated by your moves. I've got to search hard for your clues. Ooh. Now I want to repair your desire, call it a gift that I stole from wanting to live. Now I see the vision through your eyes. Your innocence no longer fuels surprise. Surprise. I'm not sure I'll be able to do this next year. Dooba-dum-dum, dooba-doo-ba-da, dooba-doo-dum, dooba-doo-ba-da, dooba-doo-doo-da-da. Can't do it. Now you're trying to outrun your fear. You're running to lose, heart on your sleeve and your soul in your shoes. Take a left, a sharp left and another left. Meet me on the corner and we'll start again. Meet me on the corner and we'll start again. this. I'm really struggling. This is a song I wrote. It's on an album called Have You Fed the Fish? Because I was recording in LA with Tom Rothrock after we did the soundtrack to About a Boy. So I'd been away from home for quite a lot in that period. I'm making 2 records quite back to back, and so songs like this one came out of that because I felt a bit bad about not being at home. The kids were quite young then, and the irony of like what I do for a living takes me away so much. So this song kind of encompasses how that makes me feel sometimes. That songs are just not that important, not important enough to drag you away all the time. And the people you're leaving behind are getting on with real life. Well, I just piss about all over the place. Sorry to swear. No, it's just a song called You Were Right. It's like a tribute to the missus, really. And you were right to bide your time and not buy into my misery. Well, the good things are never free. Do the colours of the rainbow look the same to everyone? And I was rushing round in circles for a reason to believe. Wipe the slime from off your sleeve, 'cause you could follow me for weeks, and I'm not going anywhere. Sometimes it's hard to love someone until the day that they are gone. And I just had a dream the other night. I was married to the Queen, and Madonna lived next door. I think she took a shine to me, and the kids were all grown up. But I had to turn her down, 'cause I was still in love with you. I'm turning Madonna down, I'm calling it my best move. I'll get her tickets to what she needs. And I remember doing nothing on the night Sinatra died, and the night Jeff Buckley died, and the night Kurt Cobain died, and the night John Lennon died. I remember I stayed up to watch the news with everyone. And that was a lot of nights, that was a lot of lives. You lost the tickets to what they need. And I was busy finding answers while you just got on with real life. I always hoped you'd be my wife, but I never found the time for the question to arrive. I just disguised it in a song. And songs are never quite the answer, just a soundtrack to a life that is over all too soon. Helps to turn the days to night, while I was wrong and you were right. And this was a lesson learned. I'm happy to be your fool and get you tickets to what you need. Don't laugh. I can't do this all the time. Sometimes the audience helps out, but if you don't know the melody, then don't worry about it. turning the lights down low, ready to make my move. I'll get you tickets to what you need. How long have you all got then? Is this your lunch break or a late lunch break? I mean, this is typical of me as well. I get to places I don't even want to play, and then as soon as I'm on, you can't get me off. So, not that I enjoy it. I've just got some kind of weird Tourette's syndrome where I just do weird things all the time. One of them being stand on stages all over the place when I'm not really cut out for it. I measured the distance from heaven to hell. How we will do, only time will tell. Oh, when will you stop worrying? What anyone says doesn't mean a thing. Just say you believe in it, and you're not feeling it. I'll pay you in kind or in silver and gold. I want to ignore all the stories I'm told. Make me an offer I cannot refuse. You know if I win, then that means you lose. Just tell me you're feeling it, and you're not disbelieving it. Dwelling on the memories is such a waste of energy. It's simple when you see it in front of you. On walls in bedrooms, hold your head up higher, and don't tell me you're not strong enough. Is our journey over? I hope you feel that I'm the one. Only time will tell. Just say you'll be loving me for an eternity. Oh, I feel tired of all these games. Everywhere everything is the same. Tell me you promise you might come with me. The start of a journey from A to B. I'll be happy to carry you, even though I know I haven't got the strength to hold you. I need you more than ever before. If our journey's over, I hope you feel you can find someone who will love you more. Now, not for the first time, what I want might not be mine. If you say you won't come along, then I know I can't go it alone. Constantly on this tour forgetting that I've just released a new album and hardly playing anything off it, really. It's what I'm thinking. I'm not sure there's any I can play off it today, because it's quite, not blaming anybody, it's just sometimes circumstances, the way you feel. It's a song called, this is the hardest one. If I try this, I'd be foolish. It's called I Saw You Walk Away. I'll see if I can get through it. I'm not sure I can. some songs are weird, it's just a psychology thing. This song took me ages to write, like 2 years, whereas other ones take 5 minutes. This one just I struggled with for years. So I think every time I play it, that goes through my mind. You're not alone, I'm not alone, maybe we're together. Said we'd stay together through any kind of weather. I've seen the rain coming down, snow fall on your eyes, the sun pouring shapes through your window 1,000 times. You see life in moments, I know I've got nowhere to hide, but I can see your face in mine, and you'll be coming back. For the first time it feels real, since the day I saw you walk away. From my head down to my shoulders, feels numb. For the first time I can feel how it felt to watch you walk away. From the ground up to my shoulders, feels numb. If I don't crucify myself, somebody will. If I don't do this thing myself, nobody will. How could you say that I don't wanna live? I wanna live. Time that you waste turns into memories, and they fade away. Now I'm alone, there's not a soul, no one to remind me. Tell me you will find me, put this all behind me. It's not a feeling I've known, a one that I could hide. If I could find you, if only to tell you I'm losing my mind. I see life in moments, I know I've got nowhere to hide, but I can see your face in mine, and it's beautiful. For the first time it feels real, since the day I saw you walk away. From my head down to my shoulders, feels numb. For the first time I can feel how it felt to watch you walk away. From the ground up to my shoulders, feels numb. I don't crucify myself, somebody will. I don't do this thing myself, nobody will. How can you say that I don't wanna live? I wanna live. Time that you waste turns into memories, and they fade away. Fade away, fade away. I don't do this by myself, nobody will. I don't crucify myself, somebody will. Thank you. Mike's been on the road with me. He's a friend of mine from back home in Chorlton, Manchester.
We can also take some questions.
Yeah, I've overstayed my welcome, haven't I now?
Not at all.
Yeah, no, did you say there might be a question or two, or how the devil I'm so amazing at what I do and things like that? How do I cope with it all? Is anybody coming to the gig tonight? Just one, thanks.
How do you handle being such an amazing artist? Who influenced you to be so great?
Was that just feeding off my joke there? Yeah. It's a good question. People ask me that all the time. It's just, I don't know. Honestly, writing songs is a big mistake for me in my life. I didn't really ever aspire to doing this. It just, I wanted to be a sound engineer. I'm not answering you seriously now. I wanted to be a sound engineer in the first place because I was fascinated with records and music and how they came to be. So I struggled for a few years in studios, and then I was not very good at that. But it taught me a few skills of how to record things. So I was like trying to learn how to use 4-tracks, and I was playing guitar one day and recorded something, and I realised that I'd just written that bit of music, so it made me kind of create a bug. And the first thing I learned to play was Johnny Marr, a version of Walk Away Renee, which was him and Billy Bragg. And then after that, I just developed a style of playing which I can't do today for some reason, and just became fascinated with the idea that I could actually write a song, because I didn't think, I think everyone could write a song, in my personal opinion, because I couldn't when I was 18. Some say I still can't, but I definitely couldn't when I was at a certain age, because it never occurred to me that it was possible. So I just find that whole thing fascinating, and this is what I ended up doing, and it feels like a big mistake, but I'm happy to roll with it, at least for a while, see where it takes me. Anyway, did that answer your question? No. But Bruce Springsteen was in the 80s, the Smiths were like my big favourite band, being from Manchester. But when I heard the music, I wasn't even aware that they were a local band. I heard this charming man on the radio, and then after that, in the mid-80s, inexplicably, I became infatuated with Bruce Springsteen, because a lot of people don't understand this, especially in England, but Born in the USA was obviously such a massive record, and it did two things. It alienated Bruce from a lot of people, but it also brought him into my living room at home when I was like 14 years old, and this documentary was on, and the song Thunder Road came on, and I had a tape cassette and put it in the machine. We just got our first VCR player. So all these moments of fortune I always look back on as weird, because if I hadn't had a tape, if I hadn't switched the TV channel at that point and saw the beginning chords of Thunder Road, so I bunged in a tape and I just watched it for days and days, and then I went and bought the Born to Run album where the song was from, and after that I just had this 3 years of just buying Bruce Springsteen bootlegs, and every time there was one with Thunder Road on it, I'd fast forward to hear the version, because the version changed so much. So that taught me also that the song didn't just arrive, there was a process to where it got to on the finished album. So all those things just made me more fascinated with the process of writing as well. So from that point, that spark of seeing Bruce on the telly that day, I said this once in a Barnes & Noble store when we had a similar situation to this, and I said, but for that moment, I might not be here doing what I'm doing today, because I think there's moments in your life where those things happen. Obviously, you can also nurture the things that go on around you, but nature and nurture and all that kind of thing. But some of those little things, I think my life would have took a different direction, definitely. And the fact that my mum and dad didn't push me into further education, because I did really well at school at 16, but I'd had enough of it, because I worked really hard. So instead of going on to do A-levels and a degree, I just got a job as a builder for a few years, and then, so again, without that, I might have gone to study somewhere and got interested in something else and never found music. So all those things make me feel weird, but I think everybody's got a story like that in them, where you've ended up, why you're working at Google and stuff like that, or getting into a certain role in life. And I sometimes feel fortunate that this is where mine's gone. I sometimes feel like very unfortunate. Depends on the day and the people that you meet. But most of the time, like on this tour, we've had some great crowds and audiences turning up, and you do feel privileged to be stood there doing what you do. So, and like you turning up today, you didn't have to. You could have carried on at your boring desk job. You'd come and watch anyone, wouldn't you, just to get away from that desk? So I don't feel flattered. There's 2 seats missing here. Did you wash today? There's two free seats. I didn't wash either, so I'm dying to get to the hotel to have a shower. But any other questions to prompt a long rambling rubbish answer? I think I've worn you out, haven't I? I've worn myself out. What do you think? I think I've done well here now to get through. I could close with another song unless anyone's got a question. The only reason I'm choosing this one is because it's from that. I wrote this in 1994, before anyone knew me for my music or anything. I had a little band with an ex-girlfriend and my sister's ex-boyfriend. I mean, we weren't really serious, but I split up with this girl I'm talking about the same week that he split up from my sister, so that I'd lost my 2 friends, a girlfriend and a band in the same week. So I was kind of devastated on lots of levels, and but it made me have to think about what I was going to do. So I moved to Manchester because I lived outside of Manchester, and then from then on I started my own record label. So again, the people that I met by making that move. So this song's from around that period, like '94. It's I don't know what it's about. It's called This Electric, and I just felt like recording it for this album. So it's included on the first of the trilogy that you mentioned. If anyone needs to go, please feel free. Are you sure to be the one? Well, this must be the place. The sun in my eyes, I will sacrifice. Hold on with your arms. Ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Sunrise, moonshine, starlight. That's what I need this electric for. Tried to give this a name, chasing all miracles, afraid of nothing, finding something. Hold on with your hands. Ooh, 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 ooh. Sunrise, moonshine, starlight. That's what I need this electric for. It's in the place where you're standing. Look in the place where you're standing. Start in the place where you're standing. Look in the place where you're standing. You don't know what I can't see. Not you or I could have planned it. I don't know what you can't see from in the place where you're standing. Sunrise, moonshine, starlight. That's what I need this electric for. Electric for. Thank you.
So I'm a huge fan of yours, and I just had a question about how you got involved in writing a whole soundtrack for that movie. I guess it's just not usual for artists to do full soundtracks. And
yeah, I mean the last one or the About a Boy one as well, either one. Yeah. No, I was just really lucky that people. Like when my first album came out, there was quite a lot of people that were into that record. It did really well for me. It was a good start, maybe too good a start. It's been hard to match since, but in terms of success and stuff. But after that, there's just quite a few people asked me to do stuff. I think just maybe my music does lend itself to films, and I think music and film pretty much marry up well anyway, most of the time, even if it's randomly placed together. But with About a Boy, it was Nick Hornby and the directors that told me that separately they'd been thinking of asking me to do the music, and when they met, they kind of all said it at the same time. Again, it was a serendipity kind of moment that they told me, and I thought, well, maybe it was meant to be, because I wasn't too interested in doing it. I was happy to just do my own thing, and it was quite daunting to take on a big film, especially About a Boy, a big Hollywood film. But the directors kept me on the project because I was nearly fired several times because the people at Hollywood were nervous about who's this quirky English guy. Let's just get in the guys that know how to do it. But the directors, Paul and Chris White, just were very kind to me, and they just insisted that I saw it through. And it was really hard, but the soundtrack I did last year was kind of a lot easier. Maybe because I've had the experience one time before, but it was just a simpler approach and less people to please. But I think I like doing soundtracks because it makes me write songs I would never have written, like the one I did earlier about the girl naming the baby. It's just not something I would write about unless there was the inspiration there in the story. So for me, I like it because it gets you ideas out that might not come otherwise from your own brain. So I don't know if that answered your question again. Yeah, last year's soundtrack, Carolina Hearn wrote it. She's a really funny screenwriter. She's really successful back in England. She's a comedian as well. She's from the Manchester area. We'd never met, but she called and said, would you do this, read this script? I read the script, and it was really, I'm in tears when I read it because it was such a sad story and quite a nice story as well. And I immediately found I had ideas as well, so we went and had lunch, and then we just took it from there, and I just worked on it until it was done. And it was out last December. Not many people have seen it, unfortunately, because it was just a TV film, but I think it might be on DVD. But thanks for asking. Thank you. I've run out of songs, I think. Oh. What's that? Something about a boy. I could, but I don't know which one. I mean, they're all quite tricky. Do you have any that you know the titles of? Minor Incident. I could try and do that. I mean, a lot of people like that song, so I play it nearly every night, if not. But again, I was struggling to soundcheck it just before. I'll try it. I'm really getting a bit weirded out that a lot of my songs are sad because I'm not. It makes me feel like there's something wrong with me. But again, this was inspired. It's really weird actually how similar the process. Because in the one I did before, I'll Carry On. That was the girl writes a letter to George saying that she lost the baby, but named it George, and he reads the letter and it changes his life around because he's so touched by it. And then similarly, in About a Boy, there was a scene where the mum leaves a note for the kid, so it's kind of a reverse thing. And this is what I based the song The Minor Incident on, because she leaves a suicide note and says, but, don't worry, I'll always love you. And the kid goes, yeah, great. And so that again was an easy target for a song to come from. And in this film, they had temporary music to show me like a mood thing. In certain areas of the film, and within that point in the film they had a Bob Dylan song which was Don't Think Twice, It's Alright, which is one of my favourite Bob Dylan songs, and a very daunting task to try and emulate something similar, which is not what I tried to do, but I thought of a Dylan-y type thing, which is why the harmonica came into play. Hugh Grant hated the harmonica, he said it didn't fit the film at all, so I told him to piss off. No, he was really good, he was actually alright, he was supportive as well of me being involved in the film. And what was the other thing about this song? It was, because they couldn't afford to use Bob Dylan's song, so it was a lot cheaper to get me to do it. Well, there's nothing I could say to make you try to feel okay, and nothing you could do to stop me feeling the way I do. And if the chance should happen that I never see you again, just remember that I'll always love you. Well, I'd be a better person on the other side, I'm sure. You'd find a way to help yourself find another door, to shrug off minor incidents and make us both feel proud. I just wish I could be there to see you through. Do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do. You always were the one to make us stand out in a crowd. Though every once upon a while your head was in the cloud. Well, there's nothing you could never do to ever let me down. And remember that I'll always love you.
So we should probably get to wrapping this up. But I did want to ask, your music has always seemed to be very critically acclaimed, and music lovers tend to love your music, but it's not necessarily reflected in the music charts. Is that something that is a priority for you to try and write music that is more mainstream acceptable, or do you prefer to be more critically acclaimed?
It's always nice that...
Obviously making money is always good, but
yeah, I mean,
apart from that.
I've obviously been fortunate to make a living out of this anyway, because some people don't ever get that far, and but sometimes there's been moments where I've thought, well, I deserve to be more successful, because if every person that came up to me and said they liked my music, I'd be a billionaire if they all bought their records or something. But and a lot of my peers as well, a lot of friends that I've accumulated over the last 10 years that have always said nice things about what I do. Like I do have a lot of respect within the musical community, which I'm very grateful for, and I sometimes think I'm overly respected. I'm a very contrary person. If someone says I'm great, I'll tell them I'm not, and if they say I'm terrible, I'll say I'm great. So I'm a bit like that. But I just like things to be even, you know, like and just justified. I feel like I don't think I've done too bad, but I know what you're saying about commercial success for someone like me. But there's a lot of my favourite artists out there are even more obscure than, you know, like artists like Will Oldham and Bill Callahan. Bobby Conn from Chicago was one of my favourite singers, and there's a lot of people out there that are very good at what they do and don't seem to permeate into. And I was always worried about that. I spoke to Nick Hornby when I was doing About a Boy. I said one of my main fears was to alienate the fans that I'd already got at that point, because I was crossing over into this different space that I'd not been in before, and he just said, he reassured me that it shouldn't be something you worry about, because he's had to go through that with his writing and having to handle the success and feel like, have you sold out because of it? So in some ways I've been lucky that I've not been that successful, and gone to. I'm too old now to bother about it. 5 or 6 years ago, I was maybe still looking for world domination, but now I'm just happy to make records, and if a few people hear them, then that's fine. It's all gone crazy now because it's the computer's fault, isn't it? You lot. No, it's just the way the world is. It's affected not just music, the way people consume everything. So I think we're in a period where nobody really understands where it's taken us all, and it's just the way. And music's one of the things that have been most affected. So everyone in the industry is crying, licking their wounds, and it's like, but just get on with it. It makes you more creative. You've got to. I'm back with my own label now and being more creative and more involved as a result of the way things have gone in the world climate that we're all in. So there's positives to be had as well. I think a lot of people are out there being more creative now because they have to. So it's not all bad, and it'll even itself out, I'm sure.
All right, well, I want to thank you very much for coming. I know it's a very busy schedule. I hope you all get a chance to get up to the city tonight. Free shuttles from Google up to San Francisco.
Like I say, thanks for having me in as well. I know it's a big deal coming in here because it's a big company, and I appreciate you asking me as well. There could be other people you could ask. Maybe it's a slow week. You got me in.
We turned down Bob Dylan to get you.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.